Hello and welcome. My name is Elise. Today I have got this cute little bunny coffee themed card. Let's get into the supplies. So I have got the Dir-TEA bunny. The sentiment stamp set is the Latte Love stamp set, which I think is so cute. I've got this rectangle frame from an A2 nesting rectangle set, and I actually realized I could go one smaller. Basically, I'm trying to figure this out. So I've got the warm hugs sentiment from that stamp set, and I'm gonna have my bunny sitting on the sentiment. You saw it in the beginning of the card, but it'll make sense as we go forward. Then I've got these coffee bean layered stencils. By the way, I've just started storing my stencils by cutting off the top of the packaging. I don't know if that's laziness or it's genius. I don't know. How do you store your stencils? Anyways, this is like a two sided layering stencil, so you get both sides of the coffee bean, but they can be different colors. I've got one of my blender buddies. Love these blending tools, my favorite. I've got some brown inks so that I can get my coffee beans done. Of course, that picked up my clear stamp. Sometimes I'm a mess. So I've got those. I've got some Hero Arts Intense Black ink because I'm going to do some Copic coloring. And I've got some purple tape to hold down my stencil and some Copic markers. All right, let's get into the ink blending. So I'm just have this lined up on the bottom and the top of the stencil. This is a piece of Strathmore Bristle Smooth cardstock. And I'm just going in with my lighter shade first. This is a pretty light brown, but I wanted to use something that was light and something that was quite dark so that I could get a good contrast. I feel like one of the things that Trinity Stamps does really well is these layered stencils. They have very few stencils that are not layered. Most of them have a layer to them, and it just adds so much dimension to your product and to your project to use something like a layered stencil. So I love this little coffee one. It's really cute. These are also very thick stencils, really, really high quality stencils. I'm using that Blender Buddy brush. It's always a tongue twister for me. I like using these blender brushes with dye-based ink the most. I feel like I can never use like a foam blender or something like that with a dye-based ink because I never get a good blend. And these brushes have really allowed me to stretch my dye-based inks and use them for something other than just stamping. So I'm just going ahead and getting that second stencil lined up. And then I'm going to use my darker brown ink. This is a dark brown ink from Gina K. It's obviously a lot darker as you can see, but like I said, I really like that contrast. All of the products that I've used, by the way, are linked down below in case you have an interest in checking anything out. So once I have this ink blending done, I go ahead and I clean off my stencils and I can move on to the stamping. I do love that these brushes have a cover for them so that nothing else gets inky. All right, doing my stamping. So I've got the bunny and the coffee mug here. I'm using that black ink because it is alcohol marker friendly. Going ahead and pressing that down using my Misti so that I could stamp these multiple times if I needed to. I did get a pretty good impression the first time, but I went ahead and stamped a second time just so that I could get a darker black impression. So I've done that stamping, but I want to do a little bit of extra stamping on the coffee cup. So there's actually a tiny little stamp in that stamp set so you can ink up the coffee. So I'm just using that lighter brown, that waffle flower ink color, and stamping that on the inside of the mug so that you can see that there's some coffee in the mug. And then I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the mug that says Bunny Brew. There's a ton of sentiments in that stamp set that all fit on that mug. Now, once I've got my Misti out, I'm just going to do all of my stamping at once. So you can kind of see me fumbling along here. I'm just trying to line those up and get them straight so that I can use that die and make sure it's all going to get straight. I do end up breaking out my Misti creative corners, as you can see here, to make sure that they're all lined up straight. I'm going to go ahead and pick up those stamps with the door of my Misti. And once again, use that black ink to stamp it down. Now I've got all of my stamping done, I can move on to my Copic coloring. So I knew that I was going to color the bunny with warm gray markers. You know, the stamp set is called Dir-TEA because it's supposed to be like a dust bunny. And so I wanted to use warm grays. So I knew that I needed an accent color for the mug and for the hugs word on my sentiment. And I chose blue. I feel like blue is one of those really easy, like this card is not overly feminine and it's not overly masculine. It could be given to anybody. So I'm often reaching for blues. So I've got that coffee mug colored and I moved on to the bunny. And I'm just doing some basic Copic coloring. I color darkest to lightest and blend out as needed. I'm not the world's most advanced Copic colorer, but I do think it's fun. And I think that personally, I get some of the best coloring results out of doing Copic coloring. I am using Neenah 110 pound Solar White Classic Crest cardstock to color on. I am just speeding through this coloring. This did take me a couple of minutes, but while we are coloring, I thought I would take an opportunity to check in. I hope that all of you are well and that your families are well during this time, and know that there are people thinking about you. Some of you may know if you watch my other videos, I worked from home before the pandemic, so my life has not overly changed scheduling wise because I've always been at home, but now my husband is home, and obviously we don't go anywhere anymore. I went to the grocery store this week. We've been doing grocery pickup, and it felt like just odd to be in a grocery store. It was basically the first time I've been in a grocery store in about 10 weeks. So, just different, but, we're all going to make it through it together. Okay. I'm moving on to the hugs word, and I am just coloring this basically like an ombre, where I'm using the darkest at the bottom and then lighter at the top. Nothing fancy. I do on this get a little wild and color a little bit outside the lines, but that is what a Copic colorless blender is for. Just push the color back into the lined area where you've colored, and it's just like magic. It's the most magic eraser, especially because I feel like, I don't know, Copic markers are sometimes hard. They bleed, and it's really easy to color outside the lines. All right, moving on, I'm going to take the coordinating dies from the Dir-TEA Bunny set and die cut them out, and also use an A2, the largest size, to die cut out that stencil. And then I'll also use that die from earlier to cut out the warm hug sentiment. So now you can see how this is going to come together. Sadly, a little bit off screen, I ended up gluing my little coffee mug. So this die cuts out the hands, and you could just place it right in the middle of the two hands, but I actually made it so that the mug was kind of going through the hand, because the mug has a cutout so that the hand can slip through as well. I love well thought out dies like this and things that make a lot of sense, because I feel like I spend so much time sometimes like taking an X-Acto knife around the arms of a critter so that it can hold something. So I love how well thought out that is. So I'm just using some dot runner to adhere down that little coffee mug once I've got it where I like it. And then we can move on to building the rest of the card. So you can see just how cute that looks. It does cover up most of his other hand, but that's okay. I think this looks really cute. So you can see just how he's going to sit on top of that sentiment, and it kind of acts as a ground for him to sit on, so I don't have to create an elaborate scene. I do want to say, as I assemble this card, that this card is a part of a larger celebration of coffee themed cards. If you are watching this the day it goes up, so Friday the 29th, then today is the last day of the Coffee Loving Card Makers blog hop. So there's a lot of fun things going on. I will link down below where you can find some of the other wonderful cards that people have made for this hop. I did get an inky finger on the edge of my cardstock, so you saw me use a Tombow Mono Sand Eraser on that. Now I'm just going to put some foam tape on the back of my bunny and get him popped up as well. I am a more is more person when it comes to foam tape. So peeled off the backing, and now I can place him down and get my card pretty much situated. One last thing that I need to do is just glue this card panel onto an A2 sized card base. So just running that through now. And then that will complete my card for today. I hope that you have enjoyed watching me make this card. I had a lot of fun with this one. I actually don't drink coffee. I'd say that at the end. I'm a tea drinker. If you're a tea drinker, let me know in the comments down below, because I never drink coffee, y'all. I only drink tea. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please subscribe so that you can see more from me. On your screen now are some more videos that you can watch. Like I said, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.